This week, Drew and I interview Alec Rubin and Bradley Rubin. Growing up, they both knew that one day they would join Alec Bradley Cigar Company as second-generation cigar makers. Well, that time has certainly come, and in this episode, they get to tell their story. Stogie Geeks, after this interview, I want you to go to alecandbradley.com. Check them out. Check out their brands. They got some more coming. We're going to talk a little bit about their blends and how they entered the market, and they're going to tell their story. And then later on in the show, the stick of the week is the Plasencia Cosecha 146. The exact size I had was the Monte Carlo. It's a 6x58. We're going to break it down in front of the Stogies of the week as well. Stogie Geeks, episode 328 starts right now.
This is a Security Weekly production. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where cigars burn slow, ashes fall fast, and cocktails flow steady. It's the Stogie Geek Show. Welcome, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Joe and I are already silly.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Hozempa, a.k.a. Joe Hollywood, is here with me in studio.
I'm fired up.
And Havana Cigar Club, located in Warwick, Rhode Island, is a great place to enjoy a drink and a cigar. Stogie Geeks listeners can find a $5 off coupon on our website by clicking the HCC logo.
Confidence. Confidence isn't walking into a room with your nose in the air, thinking you're better than anyone else. It's walking into a room and not having to compare yourself to anyone in the first place.
What's up, Stogie Geeks? This is episode 328. I am your host, Joe Hozempa. Privilege and an honor to be here. I am joined remotely from the little dock kid from Texas. Drew, what up?
Hey, what's going on, Joe? Just hanging out over here in Dallas, Texas, man. Just they opened up the floodgates over here, 25% across the board. So I'm gonna let these people go out and breathe the fresh air and hopefully not contaminate the rest of the others that are healthy. But I'm gonna wait this out until June, I feel, and stay healthy in that regard. So other than that, man, I'm looking forward to speaking with Alec and Bradley. These guys, they've been on our radar for a while, and it's exciting that they're here.
Absolutely. With further ado, this week, Drew and I have a chance to interview Alec and Bradley Rubin from Alec and Bradley. And I want you to go to alecandbradley.com after this episode and check out some of their brands. They got some super cool stuff. They have some sticks out on the market now. I am enjoying right now the Blind Faith. I really enjoyed this stick. I've had the Gatekeeper as well. They got a new stick coming up. We're going to talk about some of that. But before we start all their process and how they got started, I want to introduce, I guess we got to go Alec first. Just A, right? Alec, welcome to Stogie Geeks. How are you?
First. Joe, Drew, thank you so much for having us on. We've been, this has been a long time coming, and we're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Do they always introduce you first? I was going to go the other way, but do you always get introduced first when you guys go to events or do stuff, or what? How does that work?
He always gets introduced first.
I generally get.
Well, I
Alphabetically.
Nice.
Natural
Hey,
flow.
I have a brother too, so we're certainly gonna have a brother conversation. As you guys are here. That being said, I also want to introduce Bradley.
Thank you.
What's up, man?
Drew
Welcome to Stogie
for
Geeks.
having me. I'm sure most people say Joe and Drew. I'm gonna go with Drew first. Thank you, Drew and Joe, for having us on.
There you go. I actually go with Drew and I, like on the website, like Drew are there and whatnot, even though host or co-host. To me, it's all equal, right? Sometimes we have 3 hosts, sometimes we have 4. Most of the time, it's usually us 2. To me, it's a round table. You know what I mean? But it's just, I guess, we as cigar enthusiasts, as Stogie Geeks, we've been saying Alec Bradley for years in that order. Not Bradley Alec. So that's a brand problem. So whoever introduces your brother first, that's a marketing and brand and positioning issue for sure. But
it's a personal issue for me. I mean, I've been hearing this for 23 years, 24 years now. I mean, I want my name to be first every once in a while.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to come back, on episode 329 of Stogie Geeks, we can continue the interview and do a 2-part series. I'll introduce you first.
I like that.
So what's the age difference between you all?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
No kidding. 3 years. There's 10 years between me and my brother, which is kind of cool. I mean, I'm 45 now. He's 35. It's if it was a little bit, we are close. There's no question. But if it was a little bit closer, I'm sure you guys would probably argue more. See me and my brother don't argue as much. Number one, because I don't work with him, which I'm sure there. But you guys gotta obviously find that balance. Growing up, I'm sure it was very interesting for you guys, considering who your father was in the cigar industry, and what your father's position is with that company, how he started the company. The various brands that he rolls out under his umbrella and the stuff that gets done under his factory and all of that stuff as well. So that must have been fascinating for you two to kind of watch that. Take us through what it was like when you were little, and kind of like what was that like? And then also, if you could, when was your aha moment? And it might have came at the same time for you. When did you guys decide like we want to be second generation cigar makers?
Brad, you want to start?
Yeah. So,
I want Bradley to go first because he never goes first, right?
So, growing up, it was something that we were never really around. We got to see him grow as a person and throughout his career, but we never were really in the cigar shops or too much around the community itself, but we were always around the business and the people within Alec Bradley. So Alec and I used to go to the sales meetings and help in the office and pack boxes over the summer when we were little. So we were around it, but we never knew so much about the industry itself. Alec started getting more into it as soon as he turned 18. I know he started working a little bit, part-time. So he was around it a lot earlier than me. But my aha moment was, it probably didn't come until a lot later than expected, was when I graduated college. I wasn't sure what I was going to do after graduation. So I wanted to take the time to explore a little bit, see if there was going to be something else out there for me. My family sure didn't know that I wanted to join the business, but I kind of reflected and thought about what Alec Bradley has given me growing up, and seeing my name on the company is pretty special. So I just want to be able to do what my father has done for me and Alec in some sort of capacity, if or whenever I have kids, if they decide they want to join this industry too. Hopefully me and Alec don't screw this up, and we can have the possibility of passing it down to our future children. Right.
How about you? Well, now that we have Bradley, but before we get to Alec, it'd be easier this way. What's your job role within the company now? I know that from watching various interviews and stuff like that, you guys kind of split duties, which I think is smart. But Bradley, what's your current role and position? What are kind of your focuses now from the day-to-day operations of your company?
So my main focus is our social media. That's my main focus, and then marketing is obviously a part of that. So marketing, social media is my main responsibility. And then now that Alec and I are both working, and my father is taking less time to travel, we've started to travel a lot more, have people get to know who we are, and hopefully learn a little bit that Alec Bradley is two different people and not the name of our father.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That will come, for sure. I think your methodology and delivery from your first 2 sticks and your upcoming stick that kind of has a marketing story to that, and we're going to get to that today for sure. And you can take us through that. But Alec, what you started right when you were 18? Take us through that as well, and then position into your roles of the company.
Do you want me to go back to when we were growing up in the industry as well, or kind of skip that part a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So growing up in the industry, like my brother said, we weren't really around, being in stores with my father, not being 18, but we did spend a lot of time within the office helping out. And it was very interesting for us growing up because tobacco was such a dirty word for so long. And they would have all these anti-tobacco campaigns in school. And it was kind of like a weird thing telling people what our father did. But we were always extremely proud of him. He always told us how proud he was of what he did because he got to do what he loved. And so that was like always a little bit of a controversial issue between, amongst, friends in school and all that stuff. But we were always super proud of what he did. And we loved that he enjoyed what he did, which was fantastic. And then for my aha moment, because I really started getting into cigars, the moment I turned 18, I think I knew within that first year of smoking that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was spending way too much money in cigar shops, way too much time in cigar shops. And I think I was taking my laptop to cigar shops while I was in college and sitting there all day and doing my work instead of, staying at home and sitting there and doing it. But I knew from a very, very young age that this is what I wanted to do. And then my role within the company, if I had to pick 2 things, would probably be brand development and sales is probably the 2 things that I do most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, your story is very similar to a lot of cigar enthusiasts that are out there. They fall in love with a cigar shop or the concept of a cigar shop. I was the same way in college. When I graduated college in 1998, right? So back in the late 90s, I'm rocking a Hoyo de Monterey Excalibur #1. Doing my political science work in a cigar shop, writing papers, doing that, and just kind of, I'd go to the study lounge if we had group assignments and all of that. And then they'd be like, oh, you want to continue? I'm like, yeah. You want to go to a cigar shop? I'm like, what? And I'm like, yeah, all right. Some of them came, some of them didn't, some of them came and we are still friends now since then. And then others, I met him on campus, and then I would immediately just run back to the cigar shop. And quite frankly, even today, that concept doesn't end for me, right? It's like, with COVID and all that stuff, I have, working from home, and sometimes that can be a challenge with a little one. And I find myself still just going to an empty cigar shop that's closed, taking a cigar, boom, 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 and just, hanging in a cigar shop. Not every day now, of course, usually about once a week, but just to kind of, it to me, it's like a great sanctuary, get to meet some super cool people. Obviously I've done some business out of cigar shops and all that stuff. So yeah, I like you fell in love with the whole cigar shop thing for sure. Definitely. And I think excuse me.
I was just going to say, I get it. There's something that's so cool about being able to walk into a cigar shop and know nobody and walk out with 4 friends by the end of, 3 hours. And that's what I think just made me fall in love with the concept of cigars and cigar shops and the whole culture.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember back in the glory days when Alec Bradley had an event with the original Tempest. Like we actually got to go to an event here locally in Rhode Island, and they had a roll as the actual Tempest blend. You know what I mean? That was a way back in the day promotion. It was probably in 99 or 2000, maybe 2003. all the years
Yeah.
blend when you get to 40. Don't worry, you guys will get there someday, right? Right, Drew? All the years blend. They all blend together, you know. But you know, and I remember saying like, wow, like it's super cool, man. Like we got this roller and we have to get to see the cigar, and she told us all about it, and it was super cool. And then like, you know, you're meeting some friends and having some cocktails and doing that there. And like I said, it's just one of those cultures that it's just such an integral part of my life as well, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, so I could see where that would happen. Brand development. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time on this because take us through your Gatekeeper and your Blind Faith. My first exposure as a consumer to the Blind Faith was early September of last year. I went to a cigar shop in Fort Lauderdale. I did Stogie Geeks remotely there, and I ran into and I remember just having the box kind of catch my eye of the Blind Faith, and I sat there and I stared at it. Now, as you know, brand development, shelf talk is all of that is very, very important. But what I like about your positioning and where I like is where I think you guys are going is that you're looking to carve your own path, if you will. And you guys are not, you know, I'm sure you could have easily just stuck underneath your father, done that there, continued that. But you guys are really trying to define yourselves. Take us through that effort.
Yeah.
I think Bradley needs to answer this one.
Yeah, there's something important that you said in that sentence was that you stopped and stared at the box and you just looked at it for a while. That's something that Alec and I are always striving for, is that we want our artwork to speak to us and have people know who we are and the artwork that we like and our interests and what our cigar preferences are. So the goal is to have people know us, and how we're a little bit different within the Alec Bradley company itself. So with Blind Faith, we wanted something that spoke to the beginning of our journey, not just within the industry, but our lives. So if you look at the box, it's got kind of an old school TV as this guy's head, and it has the old SMPTE color bars that you used to see on TV. And that was something that we grew up with in the 90s. So we wanted something that not just spoke to us, but something that we knew, people older than us would also remember. And in the background of that, there's the old test check that has like the wheels on the side and the corners, and then the old Indian head. So we wanted something that people would ultimately remember and look back as kind of a throwback. And that was really something that we grew up with in the 90s. So the point of the Alec and Bradley stuff is not just so people understand that, Alec Bradley is named after me and my brother, but have people know who we are, what we like, and carve our own path within this industry.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys gone to and I apologize for my ignorance here. I don't believe that podcasts should be at major trade shows. It's just, if we're a good podcast and we speak to people throughout the year, that really should be saved for the retailers. But that's my own business opinion there. Because I think that there is a special relationship at a trade show. Having attended trade shows in the cybersecurity field, there's a special relationship between a vendor and the purpose of the actual trade show. Have you guys been to any of the major trade shows, and are you able to define that distance from your father in that company, or are they always like, it's Alan's kids, and then you gotta go, whoa, wait a minute, yeah, we are, but can we have a conversation? Like I'm sure there's a lot of that, especially for some of the older vendors that have dealt with your father year after year or throughout all of these years.
For me, I started going to the trade shows to IPCPR, now PCA, since I was 18. And at first, it was 100% Alan's kid all the way. Probably
For sure.
until the last, 2 years. So I'm I'm turning 28 right next few days, but so 10 years later, I'm finally getting that recognition of just being Alec versus Alan's kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the reason why I asked that question is outside of Stogie Geeks, I have an advisory services for my company as well. And I've dealt with second and third generation owners. One of my most popular and best clients is a third generation. And, when they taken over the company and dad never showed up because he retired, it took him honestly, about 10 years, and they were saying, oh, you're not running this like your father, this, that, and the other thing. So I think it's a very smart move off the bat, business-wise, that you guys are setting the record straight, saying, listen, these are going to be our sticks. This is going to be our brand, and this is going to be what we represent. And by the way, if you enjoy who the company is named after, you can still enjoy my father's stuff. And there's no reason why that you can't enjoy two companies, but I'm sure 10 years, I can tell that was a heartfelt 10 years for you because you wanted to carve your own path and get out there and do your own thing for sure.
I actually have to thank Bradley for that because it was really his idea to start Alec and Bradley. And my father had always said to us, you can either be Alan Rubin's kids or you can be separate, Alec and Bradley within this industry. And it's your job to figure out how to make that happen if that's what you want. And Bradley came to me with the idea of coming up with our, own company within the company. And if we didn't do that, I think we would still just be considered Alan's kids.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, and it's a great move on your part too, because it gives you your own identity. One thing I've often said to my client, getting back to my story, is that he still lives under the identity of when his father started the company and did that there, and I don't think that's going to go away, especially because of the industry that it's in. This industry, the fact that so far you have two blends, you have another one that's scheduled to come out, the fact that you're defining stories and character stories about what the blend is representing, what the banding, what the positioning of the product is representing, how it's describing your path and all of that stuff. I think it's definitely a well played move for sure.
Thank you.
Well, you've definitely been paying attention then, and because you got exactly what we've been trying to do with this. So thank you very much.
No, and it's the honest truth, because when I first saw the Blind Faith and I saw the Alec and the ampersand Bradley, and then probably about 2 weeks later, I just happened to connect with the local Alec Bradley rep here in the Northeast, John. I ran into him, and then he handed me a bunch of sticks, and we were talking and whatnot. He's like, here, try these. They're new. And then he goes, oh, I'm going to put you in touch with your marketing guy, Jonathan. I said, oh, cool. I was like, awesome. And so he did, and then Jonathan came on the show, and I asked him, I says, what's up with the ampersand? And he's like, oh, that's because I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know. I don't, I usually the email goes off. People want an interview. I go through the motions that way. I don't go out and seek interviews, for that. And so I was like, oh, wow, like they're coming out with that. And the first thing that popped in my head way back in September was like, wow, they have to really come up with some super cool sticks to really define their own path. That's all.
And we really find it's a two-part process with this. It's not just the artwork or just the blend. It really has to be both together. And our goal is always to tell a story and what we're doing. And Bradley, when it comes to coming up with the concept for the project, is spectacular. I think he killed it on Blind Faith. He killed it on Gatekeeper. And then he kind of sends me out to Central America to figure out the blend that represents that project and how we're trying to do something different from the core Alec Bradley portfolio to really show on both ends that we're doing something just completely different from the main company.
Mm-hmm. Smart move. Drew, you have a question?
Yeah, no, yes. So I was going to ask, so the dynamic of working together, how's that on a day-to-day basis, or I don't know. What do you guys meet up like? What, every day of the week? You guys meet up a couple days a week? How does that dynamic work together with you guys?
Our offices are right next to each other. There's even a hole that's cut out that they're basically connected. So
Awesome.
We're with each other every day. But that dynamic is definitely a brother dynamic. We definitely get on each other's nerves and we argue, and we have to learn. We're still learning how to separate, family and the business, because it's natural to
Sure.
fight with a brother. So we learn and we grow and we start to figure things out. But it's kind of worked a little bit in our favor when it comes to releasing our two cigars, because we're both not really willing to give up so much on what we want. And when we do start to pick away at the things that we're willing to give up, I think it's helped us create a better cigar and better packaging and whole product that we can release to the market and be very proud of.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that the passions are, the passions are there for sure. And so when you guys get into these discussions, is it kind of a listed, do you guys list them down? How does that, pretty much explain that part, but is it, because like with me and my brother, we can go, we throw ideas at each other, and then sometimes we break out the Nerf guns and shoot each other a couple times, and then go back into our offices and then hash it out, and then but it shows passion, but at the same time cohesiveness in what you guys are doing. Is that pretty much?
To be honest with you, because Bradley and I are both so passionate about this, I would say for the first year when Bradley started working here, we were at each other's throats constantly. And it wasn't till we started Alec and Bradley and started on the Blind Faith project that things got easier, because we were able to separate responsibilities that made sense for both of us to basically not kill each other.
Yeah.
I could see that. If I started a cigar company with my brother, he would want to he would say, you've obviously spent more time in this industry. I used my cigar resume. I was a rep for 9 months. I said, the road's not for me. Even though I'm really good at sales, I was like, the road's not for me. Pre that, I did own a cigar shop here in the Providence Metro. That got merged, and now the cigar shop that it merged to is still in existence today. So that's kind of cool. That was late 90s to about 2002. So it was just post the boom there. I've done, I currently in my business, I'm actually part of like an entrepreneur in residence for a pipe tobacco company, and helping them with their creation. And again, that was very, very difficult for me and for my client, because my client bought it from the original granddaughter, who's like 88 years old. So it's the Wilkie Pipe Tobacco Company. So it's like, again, it's been in their family from the granddaughter, and now it gets passed to this guy named John, and he had to continue the tradition and all of that stuff. Some of the pipe tobacco blends date back to the old Abercrombie and Finch store, which I found amazing. I was like, is this Abercrombie and Finch like our Abercrombie and Finch? Like, our modern day, like really? Like they had tobacco products back in the day? It was like, yeah, man, they were a department store. And I'm like, that's crazy, right? So I was like, I got to pull up like these old history archives and all of that. Point of the story is that he had to break away and assure the group of consumers who seek this product that the family carefully cascaded all of the blends over to this new owner. And then, oh, by the way, you're not going to call an 88-year-old person and, take your order. It's going to be online. And so there was a little bit of a learning curve challenge for him to kind of scoop all of that audience and whatnot. So when I talk to you about the separation in there, I'm talking to you from heartfelt experience where I've advised companies in the past, both in and out of the industry, not so much the cigar industry, but at least the tobacco industry for that. And so, I'm very aware of that huge hurdle. But I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And now with the tour that you've been going on with all of these interviews where, and it's probably just a component of time, right? Time slowed down for a bunch of us, where now you have a chance to do a bunch of these interviews on the podcast or on the Facebook Lives of the world and all of that stuff to kind of tell your story.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID-19, Alec and I were both ready to get on the road and be traveling.
That was my next question before we get into some of the new stuff.
Okay.
Have you guys done any events pre-COVID-19 together, and what was the response to that?
Alec and I have done very few events together, actually, because we feel we can accomplish the most by dividing and conquering. But we've done a handful, I would say maybe 2 or 3 at the most. They've gone well. It allows us, the opportunity to explain what we're trying to do. And Alec and I get to play off of each other, which is a lot of fun. And people get to see us, go at each other a little bit, which is really how we are. So we try not to hide that from our consumers. We're brothers. So it's fun when we get to do events together, but we usually are separate and trying to, see as many people and visit as many places as we can to reach out to the most people.
Mm-hmm.
I could not have said that any better. I was going to say basically the same exact thing that Brad just said. The only time that we really travel to do events with, together, it's been less than a handful of times. And other than that, if the event is in Florida, we're probably both there just because we can both drive there. But I was actually on a trip when this whole COVID-19 really hit the States, and I actually had to fly back early.
Yeah. Where were you? I was in San Francisco.
Oh, wow!
When this all went down.
Wow.
Well, I started in Cleveland, but I think I flew into Cleveland and flew out of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Gatekeeper came out first, correct?
Second.
Or did they?
Second. Yeah.
Blind Faith. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Came out first.
So then we'll take us through. So the Blind Faith came out first. You got the Blind Faith, you got the Gatekeeper, and then Drew wants to spend a little time asking about this new stick that's coming up. And then obviously the big question is, when do you release it? What was the original plan? Has that changed for you with all of these restrictions, or how are you guys creatively going to get past all of these restrictions that we now have on us?
So I guess we'll start at Gatekeeper, right?
Let's do it.
All right. So Gatekeeper was our follow-up to Blind Faith. For Alec and Bradley, like we kind of said before, we want to do something that's a little bit different than what Alec Bradley is accustomed to. So Alec Bradley doesn't really make any cigars in the Dominican Republic. So we and Alec kind of looked at each other and said, hey, let's do something in the DR, and then try to figure out who are we going to do this with. And Alec and I both admire Ernesto Perez Carrillo extremely. I mean, he's been doing this for probably, longer than Alec and I have both been alive combined. So we kind of felt like there was no one better. And Ernesto was ecstatic to do this project with us. So Gatekeeper, the story and brand is really an homage to Ernesto. I always saw Ernesto as, before I met him, this scary, grumpy old man who looks like he never smiles. And so I saw Ernesto as the Gatekeeper. When we finish this project and people get to try it and love it, he'll open up the gates for us basically and lead us on a new path, and we'll see where that takes us. So it's really a kind of gothic, dark. If you see the band, it's Medusa's head being held and blood spilling out, and it's just this crazy brand that is really based on Ernesto and how legendary he is. So he really knocked the ball out of the park with the cigar itself, and it seems like people have been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah. choice and size, if it's Gatekeeper, I'm a fan of the Robusto.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
I got the Robusto. I got the Robusto on deck after I'm doing the Blind Faith now. I like the Blind Faith. To me, it's a little bit more bitier for me. It's got the smoke content kind of lingers on my palate just a little bit more than the Gatekeeper.
Yeah, what's cool on Gatekeeper is that Ernesto is really known for being kind of the king of big ring gauge with the inch. But we have it in a Corona, which Ernesto does very few of, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying the Corona the most.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
I have not had the Corona. I have not. I'll have to seek that out for sure.
I got that box on my desk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So you were talking about the Blind Faith versus the Gatekeeper, and when we were blending the Blind Faith, Brad will tell you he wanted something specifically that either people loved or hated, but there wasn't anything in between. So we went for something that was really, really going to bring, I guess, a higher strength to the cigar, while maintaining a certain level of flavor. Because if you smoke Alec Bradley cigars, you know that we are always flavor first and then strength second. So with that cigar, we wanted to push the boundaries with the flavor and still bring in the strength. Because as you add flavor, you tend to lose strength, and when you add strength, you lose flavor. So we wanted this perfect combination between the two, which led to a really beefy cigar, having, I think, all the fillers are ligeros or maduros, which is extremely hard to blend. It's not very common. And so that's what we went for with that cigar. And when we knew we were coming out with our second one, we knew we needed something that was going to be on the exact opposite end of the scale, something to kind of show off that we can do things in different ranges. So that's why the Gatekeeper is a little bit more medium. It might have that shorter, a little bit of that's not really a shorter finish, but just a lighter finish. And we just wanted to really differentiate between the two blends.
What's this next one that you're trying to come up with? Or is that ready to rock in 2020?
So you brought up before in the question about the new brand and when is it going to be released. So we were planning some sort of time in mid-May to the end of May for this release. But with the factories closing down and some packaging changes, it's kind of put us set back for, kind of the unforeseeable future. We don't know exactly when it's going to be released. If there happens to be a trade show still, then we hope to release it then. But if not, we're still working on it, trying to figure out what the fourth size, maybe the fifth size as well is going to be. So, TBD on when the release is. But
you guys have a concept. You guys have a concept of that, right? Of what it's the wrapper binder filler. You have a name. The trade. What's interesting? You brought up a great point, right? In regards to quote unquote the trade show, right? What would happen all the time historically here on Stogie Geeks or any cigar media is around that May timeframe, we get bombarded with all the press releases from all the companies. Every day there's a press release of a company in our email and all of that stuff that all the different marketing departments from different brands send us, and then we pick it up, talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And May had always been like that official go-to, right? Because of the trade show. And now this year, I'm slated to go to a trade show in Vegas in the cybersecurity company in August, early August. I think it's August 8th off the top of my head, right? And that's still a maybe, right? We don't know. But even my thought business-wise is even if that happens, it's probably going to be sparsely attended, right? Even in that cybersecurity company, definitely with IPCPR going to PCA and all that entails and what they were trying to accomplish and what they're still trying to accomplish there. Some companies have bailed out, some have not, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to get into that. I've already said my piece on that and gotten a bunch of hate email and some Facebook hate speech from other podcast people, but that's cool. It means I'm doing my job. So, so that being said, like, I wonder if post-COVID, the structure of moving forward with the release of blends is going to change that annual rotation of the constantly new stuff.
I think it definitely might. We like Brad said, we were planning on releasing in May, and now we're hoping for a trade show release.
Right.
Actually, we were hoping for mid-April originally, and then we had to shut down the factories. We didn't have an option.
Mm-hmm. So, you want to talk a little bit about the name of the stick and concept of the stick, or you want to keep us waiting with anticipation? What do you want to do?
Oh no, we want to talk about it for sure. Because I'm
all right. Well, go ahead, Drew. What?
No. I just want to wow these guys. So I'm going to let you know that when I read the name, I know it's a Japanese name, and what the meaning of it. I'm going to show off here a little bit because I do my homework. So, which the name Kintsugi, which means golden journey or golden rejoining. So when I read that and I went and looked it up and I did my homework, going back to the other two sticks, I'm like, yeah, these guys are definitely on journey for sure, because there's a lot of thought that's been put behind their third offering coming up soon. And I just wanted to let you guys know that, I know our listeners, people that I talk to at my lounge, we have a great, Alec and Bradley facings on our shelves. And so I started telling him, I said, yeah, there's another stick coming out, and it's within the lines of the other two sticks. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit and just kind of show off a little bit.
That was impressive. I love that.
I love that the meaning of Kintsugi. It's cool that you did your research, and it makes me very, very happy. So to expand on it a little more, for the people watching, Kintsugi is basically the piecing back together of broken pottery. So, plates and bowls and vases, and the cracks is basically put back together with gold lacquer. So when you have the final piece again, gold cracks show through the breaks, and the Japanese meaning behind it is that there's beauty in the imperfections. And so we kind of use that as a metaphor to what's been going on within the industry. And, I know Joe didn't really want to talk about, what happened with PCA, but we, had a very broken industry. Not everyone's on the same page between PCA and then everything going on with the FDA. So we're all very separate, and we're trying to figure out what is the gold lacquer that pieces the industry back together. And, ultimately it's about the cigar. It's about us all enjoying cigars and being a community. But weirdly enough, with COVID-19 happening and all of us turning to, virtual hearths and Zoom and Instagram Live and whatever platform that you decide to use, it's brought the industry a lot closer together in this, past month or 2 months. So, while the gold lacquer is the cigar, this pandemic has truly been what's brought this industry a lot closer together.
Oh, yeah.
You bring up fascinating points about PCA and merge IPCPR, and when they wanted to have a consumer day and all of that there. The industry is fragmented, and especially with the FDA. I've been having the FDA conversation for 5 years now, 3 years on Stogie Geeks and 2 years. I had a cigar radio show on terrestrial radio that you could call in. It was more like a Friday afternoon drive happy hour show, and we discussed a lot of interviews, and we would interview people like yourselves on the show and all of that stuff. They would call in and do all of that there. Or if they were doing an event here in Rhode Island, they would come to the studio into the radio station, and we cut up a show and do that there. So I've been having that FDA conversation for a while now, and it really does need to come together for sure. We should probably, and one of the things that you might want to do as second generation there is I want to spend some time pivoting to the future of the industry. Even with us dealing with COVID, we are going to be, unfortunately, dealing with the repercussions of COVID for at least 5 to 20 years in some sort of respects, regulation, different way of doing business. I want to spin it to a positive. Hopefully we won't be under quarantine for the next 5 years. But again, there will be a different life as we know it going into a restaurant, going into a crowded arena to see a show or a concert or big parades, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes together and it really needs to come together and be defined, what do you guys hope for the future of the industry? And you can weave in and out of COVID, because, you guys are young enough, and let's face it, I'm in my 40s. I'll probably be doing Stogie Geeks for another 10 years or so. There might be another version of me somewhere who's going to take over, another version of Drew 10 years from now, whichever. Not saying that 50 is the cutoff, but you know what I'm saying? People might get sick and tired of hearing me for freaking 14 years, but, where do you guys see the industry going? And what fascinates you guys being at such a young age? I remember being in my career field in my 20s and being excited about the field and excited about my contributions that I could take in the field. What do you guys see for the future of the industry?
I think it's a good question, but a tough question, because this industry has been around for so long that there's very little innovation to be seen within this industry, because it just has such a rich culture and a history. So I'm quite curious to see where the industry leads in the next 10, 20, 50 years, because what's really going to change in terms of the tobacco? I think things that have changed over the years are how events are done, how tobacconists handle themselves, or what these retailers look like, and the experience that they provide. And I know there's been even just changes over the years, since Ernesto was making cigars in Miami, to now, he sold La Gloria Cubana, and now he has, EP Carrillo. There's so many little intricate things that have happened over the years. Like I said, the way that events are done and swag and getting to meet the manufacturers in person. I'm pretty curious myself as to what's going to happen in the next 50 years.
So to go on a little bit different view, the people who have been affected most are brick and mortar stores. And it's the shop owners that have been selling cigars for decades that maybe, they don't know how to adapt to something like this. They may have old technology. They don't ship. They don't do anything online in terms of social media and trying to promote their store. People may not know if they're open. So, not looking too far in the future, but maybe just a year out, I hope that some of these shop owners that have been sticking to what they've been doing for the past 20, 30 years, just start to try and update and try and, pick up their social media, have people know, what's coming in, what's on the shelves at all times, have people know what's in inventory. So, they're not just saying, oh, this shop is closed, or they don't have what I want. Maybe they do have the cigars that you want. So they got to, start to figure out how to get with the times a little bit and having people know what's going on with their store at all times.
Great points. I've often said to my clients, and I've lost some from this comment and I've kept some from this comment, and it has nothing to do with COVID. It's in any industry, you really need to innovate or die.
Yep.
And that's it.
Lateral.
Like that's
lateral.
That's it. Like you need, regardless of FDA regulation potential going down there, regardless of the PCA and the IPCPR mix and where they're going. There may be a really big cause for innovation to happen. And Alec brings up a great point of, this is an old industry. And I've dealt with older industries outside of the cigar industry, and it's not easy to get them to pivot, but they really must innovate. The brick and mortars really need to innovate. I know here there's been a local movement of cigar shops going online, right? Just from the curbside and doing that there. And I think it's great, right? Because once they catch up with the intricacies of the site and what the site can do, they can start to tag the meta tag in the field. So if they're doing a search for a specific cigar, now they can play against the big online retailers, which I think is super important because everyone has their place in the market, right? You just got to define your space in the market. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Can you guys just hold on 1 second? My dad just came in and said my audio is bad, so I'm just going to switch my headphones real quick.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it took COVID to push some of these brick and mortars to consider online. But now I was even talking to some shop owners here in the Northeast that, with COVID and they start to release restrictions that are going to be pending on either state, town, county, whichever, now you might have to take some of your events outside when the weather's nice here in the Northeast. Good news is May is right here, right? It's May 1st today. And we can enjoy good weather until at least Halloween, right? And we can probably get creative when it comes to some of the events, social distancing while you still have events. Maybe shops would have to space out some chairs and do all of that, but they're gonna really, really have to pivot or innovate the way. I love the curbside service for a lot of, I can go on because if I'm paying with my card anyway, I can go to the site, pick the cigars I want, bing, bang, boom, tell them what time I'm going to be there, show up. Yeah, my name's Josep. Okay, cool. Here's the thing. Thanks, man. Peace. You know what I mean? I love it. Right? It's great, especially if I know what I want to get. But I think it's going to push them in the right direction. The brick and mortars are worried about inventory. And I get that. You guys worry about inventory too. I'm sure it's on everyone's mind. But the supply chain is going to work its way out somehow, some way, right? Most of the cigars here in the United States are sitting in a warehouse. And to my knowledge, there's a 3 to 6 month window of inventory of what we can get. Some brands are tougher to get than others. I know all of that stuff. I'm sure you guys have dealt with a ton of logistical nightmares. But, those are all problems that we're all going to have to adapt to. And if the supply chain goes, with this 3 months that we've been in, I think right now we're in the end of the beginning phase of COVID, right? So, it's different phases, right? However you want to label them. But I think we're at the end of the beginning. We're going to start to release some of the quarantining. Hopefully the brick and mortars will get more traffic. I spoke to a local cigar owner who talked about events, and he's like, yeah, normally whenever we do a cigar event, we have 80 people. It's easy. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a 2-day event, and you pick the day and just space out the event.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's a great idea.
That's freaking genius. I'm like, so now instead of 40, now if the number locally here becomes 20, then you have a 3-day event or maybe a week event or whatever. And some people go to the event because they like the deal, the quote unquote, whatever the deal of the event is. But others might really want to meet the person as well. And I'm sure with social distance and all of that stuff, you got to be innovative and make it happen. I don't know about plane rides, but it'd be pretty cool for you guys to now zoom in to a cigar shop, do a meeting like this with the patrons, and now you guys don't have to fly and everyone's safe. Everyone gets to quote unquote meet you. They can ask questions via Zoom or via Skype or whatever methodology they use. You can set up a Slack channel for the cigar shop. There's so many ways that they can preset questions and then have them have an opportunity to meet you guys without you guys actually flying to the actual event.
We actually tested this out about a year ago, prior to all this COVID stuff, and we did a Google Hangouts event with 7. It was the same owner, but 7 different of his stores at one time. And it was a very interesting dynamic, and it was a little bit strange. But now that we have, people are now using Zoom and all these other different platforms, I definitely think that could happen. The one thing that just saddens me from all this is we're talking about ways to, do events and all that. But like I mentioned earlier, the culture of a cigar shop is to be able to go in, sit down with a random group of guys or girls that you've never met, and just, talk cigars, talk whatever it may be, whatever the discussion is in the room at the time, and just walk out with a great experience and have made, like I said, 3 or 4 new friends from that experience. And if that kind of goes away a little bit, that's going to be a really sad part of this culture.
That's a good point too. I mean, for sure. But again, this is the time that we live in, and hopefully, if the restrictions are 20 people in a room there or whatever they may be, I'm not going to get logistical with the restrictions, but like I agree, like having it open is going to be a challenge. But I think that the business owner and the brick and mortar and you guys and the innovation is going to come out of this. And I think that the industry as a whole, from what I've seen from these virtual events and all that stuff, I mean, I can't scroll down through Facebook or Twitter and hop on a freaking HERF. I mean, they're happening almost 24 hours. It's pretty crazy. I got mixed feelings about the HERFs. It is different for sure, but life's going to be different as we know it. It just hopefully we can get back to the times you talk about more sooner than later.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think before all this happened, I think we saw actually a shift towards brick and mortar, that people wanted more than anything the in-lounge experience and be able to connect with people. I think online business was probably going down, and you just saw a major shift because of all this, and now everyone's views are different. So I think because the industry tends to be older, I think there is an older way of thinking, and that we've been through stuff like this before. We'll always beat it out, and that I can go back to my local cigar lounge and enjoy my life as it was 2 months ago. So I think certain places, certain people, when there's less restrictions and regulation on what's going on right now, and we all look back and be like, COVID-19 is over, people, I think for the most part, will just go back to, what life was. They may not see a difference. They may not practice social distancing. The lounges may not sanitize as much as they should, just because, it's a thing of the past and people aren't talking about it anymore.
What I've noticed too is that I get emails constantly from Stogie Geeks listeners that say, "Hey Joe, you often talk about the privilege to walk into a cigar shop, and if you don't like who's at that cigar shop or that cigar shop's dead, you can jump in your car and go to another 4, right? Because believe me, in Rhode Island, there's a ton of cigar shops. I have Stogie Geeks listeners that are like, I have never set foot in a cigar shop, and talked about it. I says, why haven't you been to a cigar shop? And they're like, because the nearest one is an hour away. And I order cigars online from the bigger retailers. And and then whenever you mention sticks on your sticks of the week, I'm always hunting and pecking if you make it sound enticing and do all of that. And there are a lot of people that are going to probably bring back the old ambassador programs when I wasn't a cigar ambassador back in the day. Actually, the gentleman that made me a cigar ambassador is now your rep for the the Northeast. So that's how far back we go, right?
Wow.
He's now a rep for your company, and so it's one of those things where people are going to be having HERFs at their bodega or garage or a local club or golf club or sporting, things you can do with a cigar, fishing club, disc golf, regular golf, I'm not one of those, I golf a lot. I don't tell people that like golf is a sport. It's an activity. To me, it's like the cigar shop, only I get to walk around. It's cool. You know what I mean?
Are you
it's like a rolling cigar shop. I really dig golf, but I think it's going to change, and I think it is going to be for the better for sure. We have a couple more minutes. Drew, do you have a couple more questions?
No, I was just going to ask Bradley, how's Pops? How's Dad?
He's doing well. I think he's excited for all this to hopefully be over. We got back into the office on Thursday last week. So we were out for about a month, and the reps on the road are still stuck at home at the moment. But he's good. He's excited. And for Kintsugi to come out and, maybe some other Alec Bradley projects, he's really looking forward to the next few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys, for you to be in this industry, you got to be somewhat of a social butterfly, right? You want to get out there, and the one thing COVID is making us do is stay home, So I'm sure he might be chomping at the bit to get out there, see the people, work on some projects and doing that, because he kind of like myself, right? If I'm not working on a project, I don't think I'm making money, right? So I'm always constantly moving and talking to people, even though it's done out of the comfort of my own home now. I'm trying to find that workspace and keep that business moving for myself. And certainly, I'm sure that you guys can't wait to get back to work and have your reps back on the road, and get some demand orders coming in, and start moving some inventory. I think we're all looking forward to that. I love the creativity of you guys when you've taken time to define the three brands that we spoke about today. How do I want to put this? How eager are you to get to brand 6, 7, and 8? And I'm just making those numbers up because you have 3. Like, is this like a project where are you guys thinking that far out now, business wise? Like, I know it could take a couple of years and all of that stuff, but like, are you guys starting to start that, right? Because any great business owner, especially in this industry, you got to be like way ahead of the demand for your product, right? In order for you to push product. So have you guys began the thought of what brand 6, 7, and 8 are going to look like? What types of things, like what types of tobaccos excite the both of you that you think you would pass on to us as the consumers?
So for me, I'm sorry, Brad, you mind if I go?
Yeah, go for it.
So for
Alex
me,
ready. He's like, yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I think I'm a little bit more eager than Bradley to get more brands on the market, just because when I look at Alec and Bradley as a company, you can't have a company with 2 lines. And currently, that's what we have. We have 2 lines on the shelf. It doesn't make for a brand or a company. So I'm definitely looking forward at brands 6, 7, and 8 that we want to launch. And you were saying in terms of tobacco, I mean, there's a bunch of different types of tobacco that we want to play with right now. And Bradley and I have honestly just been discussing which ones we want to tackle first based off what we can get our hands on. And we are extremely passionate when it comes to the tobacco, and we love, experimenting and exploring and testing our palates to see what we can do. So far, the only thing that's kind of been outside our range a little bit is using Dominican tobacco, which really isn't a huge stretch, but there's definitely a bunch of different things out there that we want to play with.
Yeah.
So Alec said something important there.
He did. He did. Go ahead.
that he's more eager to come out with brands, and there's some truth to it, but it's just different. So, am I excited about future projects? Absolutely. I just the other day I came to Alec and to Jonathan. I'm like, I have this name. This is the concept for it, and it's gonna be sick. And we're all talking about it, and we got further and further. And like, this is an awesome concept. But we have Kintsugi coming out, we have Gatekeeper, and we have Blind Faith, and I believe that we need to focus on those three brands. At this moment, we can't be jumping so far ahead to the fourth and fifth and sixth, seventh, eighth cigar until we have people smoking our current stuff and enjoying it, and not just buying what's new. Yeah. We got to focus on our current portfolio before we start focusing on our sixth and seventh cigar.
I don't think that you can consider what we have.
I would agree to disagree with you. And the reason being is because there is a group of cigar enthusiasts like us that are out there, and we walk into a humidor, and the first freaking question we ask the humidor manager is, what's new? What's new? What's new? Right? Because we're stick chasers. It's a culture you build. Because if you produced, in my mind, you produce something that is a go-to stick for me, which is the Blind Faith. No doubt about it. It's a go-to stick for me. And I don't say that to a lot of interviewees. I tell them, it's not my palate, but I know it sells very well. You're going to do great in the industry. But one of the very first things I said to Jonathan from your organization was, I can't wait for them to come up with 6, 7, and 8, because that's really going to define them and separate them. Because of who your father is. It is what it is.
I got a question.
But Alec, go ahead. Yep.
So what are some of your go-to cigars? Something that you never get tired of?
That's a great question. Before I answer that, and I'm not postponing it.
Okay.
Alec brought up a great concept, and I want you guys to really have this hit home. Alec said, my brother and I are playing with blends, and we're anticipating the growth. And that tells me as a consumer, you guys are having fun. And that is so needed in the industry from cigar owners. I interview, Drew and I and past Stogie Geeks guests have interviewed so many people, and they have not used the words, we're playing with blends. It's experimenting. We're trying to figure out, and I'm quoting, right, what consumers like, what's going to sell, how we're going to pivot. You guys are having fun. And I think because of your entry level to the business and your years of expectation of life in the business is greater than some other cigar owners because of your age. Having fun is key.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So I hats off for you guys for doing that. I think that's super cool. Now, go-to blends. I know the Stogie Geeks listeners are rolling their eyes because they know what's going to happen. I cannot say a Stogie Geeks episode without using the word tatuaje or viaje.
Perfect.
So that being said, my number one go-to stick is the tatuaje pork tenderloin. Has been for years. I've been addicted to that stick. I have Stogie Geeks listeners saying I can't find this stick. I tell them I know. It drives me crazy. It's a super cool stick. I love the size. I love the packaging behind it. I love the flavor profile. It's such a flavorful, leathery stick. If you were to look up leather component 101, that's the stick for me. I love Tatuaje. I love Davidoff, right? I'm a big fan of Davidoff. I think that company is on its own planet sometimes. But they do everything right when it comes to cigar, other than how they treat the brick and mortars who are not into the entry level thing. I don't like the whole buy in at this concept and you got to have this level and it's got to be in a separate humidor. I get the whole scheme of things, but that bothers me from a brick and mortar because it denies the consumer the privilege. Here you tell, well, if I want a Davidoff and I can only go to 3 shops in Rhode Island. By the way, if I wanted a premium cigar, I can go to 38 shops in Rhode Island. And I don't know if you guys ever been to Rhode Island, but without traffic, you can drive through it. It's just like Delaware. You can drive through it in like 30 minutes. Well, if you're doing the speed limit, 40 minutes. But, so I'm kind of painting a visual for you. Cigar shops like Dunkin' Donuts for us here. They're on every corner. But if I want a Davidoff, I can only go to 3. And I have a group of friends that don't follow Stogie Geeks, but have followed me from being in a cigar shop and just they're my close friends. And I'm like, yeah, man, I have a hankering for a Davidoff. Like, oh, we're going to this. They know where we're going. I didn't have to tell them the shop. Okay, I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there after work. Bing, bang, boom. Because they're like, yeah, having a Davidoff doesn't suck. There you go. The Twahe pork tenderloin for me. I love the Viaje series. I love the creativity of Viaje when they were out and when they were hot for sure. There.
Did you grab a box
those
of
definitely
the re-release of the? Did you grab a box of the re-release of the Oro Reserva?
I didn't grab a box, no, but they were because they kind of like 2 at a time and go there. But yeah, they. Wait, are you talking about from Davidoff?
No. From Viaje.
Oh, from Viaje. Yeah. I thought you were talking about the Davidoff Oro for like $500 or whatever.
Oh no. That's crazy. That's crazy.
There's a local retailer who puts cigars in a aging room, and this word comes from one of my dear friends. He's like, he goes, I walked in and I wanted to buy a box of the year of the whatever, rat, rooster, whatever. He's like, no, I can only sell you 2. He's like, dude, I want to buy a box. Like, nah, I can only sell you 2. He's like, he freaking taunts me. He taunts me with those cigars, and he only opens up the humidor for freaking this, that, but you know something? That's his speed. He's doing well. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? That's what he does. His words, not mine. He taunts his customers with cigars that they can't purchase. That's why there's a high demand for them. I don't know. Realistic go-tos besides getting off the Davidoff and the pork tenderloin kick. I've been into the Mike Bellady stuff, the MLB Cigar Ventures stuff, the Islaro and the David P. Ehrlich. The Blind Faith is certainly in that rotation for sure. When I got a Project 40, I called your rep, and I think I emailed Jonathan, or I talked to Jonathan post that from your organization. I was like, dude, you're onto something with that stick for sure. I'm digging the Project 40. The Robusto size does it for me. I'm kind of like a smaller ring gauge size. I'd rather have 3 Robustos in a day than some of the bigger stuff there. Other brands, I'm certainly a fan of EP Carrillo. Paul Azadorian, founder of Stogie Geeks, loves Ernesto's stuff for sure. EP Carrillo, I love his short run series. So we have boxes of the short run series 2013, 2015 there. Those are super cool sticks to get. If you are a Stogie Geek and you're listening to this, you call your local brick and mortar, see if they have them, because I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase. But I love the short run stuff there. I love the Lito Gomez stuff. Super cool. The cabinet stuff that Lito Gomez puts out for sure. I'm intrigued with this, and I don't really get super excited about this brand anymore, but the Romeo and Julieta Passion that's coming out, they've done such a great job in their press release and sending it to me. I'm like ready to like buy a box unseen. I don't know why. I was like, that's weird, right? Because I'm interested in Romeo and Julieta to how they're going to recover from the Nicaraguan project. I don't think that a lot of consumers, there wasn't really a warm welcome. I think one of the reasons being for that is because people have been conditioned to smoke Romeo and Julietas for years. And then when they came out with the Nicaraguan blend, they're like, oh boy. But I bet you if they took the wrapper off and did a blind tasting, I think that it would get better results, my opinion, because, that there too. But that Lito Gomez cabinet is like super cool. And there's a cigar shop, which is also my pipe tobacco client. They actually have 2 separate businesses within the same business, and he has those Lito Gomez cabinets. And I'm like, you got any more of those in the back? Because those are awesome.
Yeah. So something that I was trying to get at, which I honestly, you stumped me, was I was hoping that your go-tos are stuff that have been around forever. and
Like
trying to say that.
like a Padron.
Yeah, whether it's Padron or maybe like an Ashton,
Ashton.
classic or VSG or something like that. Something that's
Yeah.
just a staples in a lot of people's humidors is that, I don't want to always be the company that's what's new. I want to be a staple. That's a point I was trying to get at, but you smoke a lot of Viaje, so you're always looking for something fun and creative and new and different, which is something that I also look for as well, because I like Viaje stuff quite a lot.
Yeah, there's like a bucket cigar coming out. Matt Booth retired and came back and did a project and all of that. I like stories like that. As far as classic facings, I do love the Padron. It's got to be the Padron Anniversario something or other. I do like those. See, those are readily available in our Stogie Geeks humidor. So there have been many times where, realistically speaking, when it comes to Padron, I don't really, seek them out because they're readily available in we have a huge humidor in the studio. God, I miss the studio. Anyway, so and where I work on a 9 to 5 daily job, I work out of the Stogie Geek studio, which is attached suite-wise in the same building as the Havana Cigar Club. It's a local cigar shop here. And so I do get a lot of the classic faces for sure. I love the La Aurora series, that the Preferido series that have came out with them. I like them there too. I do like Padron. What was the Ashtons? Honestly, Ashton. I like the Ashtons. Every Ashton I smoke, even the San Cristobal, like the first half, I'm like, oh my God, like I got to really pay attention to these more. The one thing that, to my palate, to be honest with you, is just like, to me, they all end the same. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? So, you guys don't have to go on record. Believe me, I've gone on record, which is probably why Ashton and AJ Fernandez won't sponsor the show. It's all good, right? It's just
I love you, AJ.
It's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? Like, to me, they kind of all end the same with the Ashtons. Like that ESG, I have that. I'm like, oh my God, that's a great stick. But if you were towards the end, you're like, it kind of flattens out. I do like the Illusiones. This morning, I had a Holy Lancero Candela by Illusione. That's a freaking awesome stick.
If you want to check out a really cool Illusione, I don't know if he still makes it anymore, but if you can find them, I think it's just called 33, and maybe it's like 33 Ninfa, but it's a 33 ring gauge. And it's a very, very simple cigar, but they're these little short smokes, and they're fantastic.
You bought me a box of those, man. Those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry I stumped you. I mean, I do like the classic stuff. It's really at our disposal because they ship it to us or they give a press release, and people are, we're always getting sticks shipped to Stogie Geeks. I love the companies, the more, I don't want to say more established companies, but I always tell them, like, do an Attention Joe box and do an Attention Paul box.
Yeah.
Because they come in, some of the ones just ship it to Stogie Geeks, and I open it and I split them with Paul, the original owner. Because you got to keep in mind, like I work pre-COVID, obviously, in the Stogie Geek studio, which does 7 other podcasts in cybersecurity. And Paul's always coming out and saying, dude, I ordered these online. You got, have you tried this yet? Have you not tried this yet? And so we're always having those offline conversations. Drew and I have offline conversations a lot about stuff because locally in his realm, I've been into the Rojas stuff there too. Noel Rojas, super cool stuff there too. But I do like some of the classic faces. I'm all over the map. To me,
moral of the story is come out with more cigars. That's the moral of the story, Brad.
honestly, like I could do an APB of Stogie Geeks listeners who listen to this. Email me at joe@stogiegeeks.com and just tell me if you're in column A, where you like to smoke the same old stuff, or do you think Alec and Bradley should be concentrating on 6, 7, and 8, or 6 and 7 sticks? And I will compile that results and survey to you, and I will email it to the both of you, and I guarantee you I would win all day.
Yeah, of course. People always want what's new.
Yeah, I'm with Bradley. What he said earlier, what I like as a consumer now I'm going back to the consumer side, is that the cigar, the lines that they have offerings now and the new one that's coming out, it builds momentum and it builds anticipation, and I like that. And a lot of our listeners, from what I can tell on the YouTube page, it's awesome, because there is a point sometimes, and I think early last year I was going through this, where there were just so many new cigars coming out pre PCA or whatever it was, IPCPR. There was a lot of stuff coming out, and to get to everything and just kind of be, give it a fair assessment on what we do. It was just a lot. There's a lot there, and some of the stuff we still have not gotten to. So when you hear something that's a familiar brand and a familiar following, then you get to definitely consider those as they come along. And like I said, for me, it builds anticipation, and I can't wait to get the Kintsugi for sure and enjoy that and share my thoughts on that. I just want to ask you guys a question. Would you guys be willing to take a question from a YouTuber who's on live with us?
Of course.
Are you doing that at the same time, Drew?
Oh yeah.
You always one up me. Drew has always one upped me with now he did his homework. It blend. Go ahead. Well, I'm just sitting here smoking a cigar, enjoying talking.
Well, we got a pretty good Facebook thread going on here. So first of all, Chip wants you to know that he's digging the combo Magnum PI 70s porn stash and shirt. So his question to you guys is basically, are you guys? It's a two-part question. So 2 questions. Will you guys ever branch off to the extent of having separate booths at the shows from AB, or will you guys, hold on one second, or will you guys be together? And then the second question, follow-up question to that, do you still work on AB products, or are you focusing on A and B products? This is in no way to infer that one is better than the other. He's just curious.
How about Alec? I'll take question when you take question 2.
Perfect.
So in terms
you guys get along on this show. You should come here more often.
You guys are our counselors. You guys are bringing us closer together.
There you go.
Nice.
But I would say that in terms of the booth, I don't see us branching off and having separate booths. We're a family, and families got to stick together. So, we gotta do this all together, and I don't see that changing.
Oh, nice. Group hug, man. That's awesome. Papa Bear better give you a hug when he sees you.
Hey, I love that logo.
Distancing. We can't be giving hugs, man.
Yeah, I know.
I like the logo.
Question 2 was, do we still work on Alec Bradley projects also, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we absolutely do. I'm smoking a Gatekeeper Corona right now, but what I was smoking before that was a blend that I worked on down at the factory that is potentially going to be the next new Alec Bradley release. So even though we have the Alec and Bradley stuff that we focus on, just amongst the 2 of us, we are constantly and always in everything on Alec Bradley all day, every day. That's never going to change. That's the core company. That's who we work for essentially.
Legacy.
And although even though we do have Alec and Bradley, we are fully in everything on Alec Bradley.
That's a good question. Why not? What are you going to do when you guys take over the business when Papa Bear wants to retire? You know what I mean? You guys would be the next logical choice. I mean,
we'll figure it out when we get there. That's
Alec and Bradley was really was two things. One, for us to identify ourselves, and two was for us to be able to come out with the projects and the blends that we wanted to come out with without any influence from my father. So that's why we did that.
All right, we got to leave this interview with that. How did that conversation go down? Love your help, but we really want to stand on our own, because my father passed in 2015, and had a great relationship with my father. He's retired military. He was a tough old bastard, right?
Yep.
Freaking how did that conversation go down? What, like, did he know you guys were always like? Because it's kind of a defiant conversation. You know, a parent might take it as, well, wait a minute. You know, how did that all go down? That's a great thing you brought up, Alec.
Yeah, that was a good question. It went actually a lot better than you would think. You know, our father is our mentor. That's who we look up to, and who we are constantly asking questions. But something that's always been common with Alec and I growing up is that he's always let us make our own mistakes, and not saying that this is a mistake, but it's an experience, and it's a challenging task that we wanted to put upon ourselves. We wanted to challenge ourselves, and he saw that as us trying as hard as we can to you know, work our hardest and be ourselves. So he was very accepting of the idea and supported us 100%.
That's awesome. That's
gotta feel great too. I mean, coming from, you know, I mean, passing the baton. You know, as I was telling Joe earlier before you guys came on, it was like, you know, they've been passed the baton, and obviously the relationships between the father and the two, and everybody else that's working, you know, as a cohesive unit, I mean, full support, full on. And you can see that.
Yeah.
Bradley left out one caveat that was a part of all this, though. My father said he's all about it. He loves the idea, but you guys are, because I'm not a part of it, you guys are paying for your own production. So that was a caveat.
Well, you know, honestly, dependency is slavery, and I think it's from my relationship with my mom and parental units. Me and my brother are different people, right? For sure. And I'm always like, I got to figure it out myself. Because it's just the values of the parents are slightly different. You know what I mean? I like to think of myself as an entrepreneur. I mean, I've been on my own since 2004 when I left corporate. And then I worked in different capacities. And even now, it's like it's a gig economy where, you know, you got my business, Stogie Geeks Security Weekly. It all blends all together. Okay, cool. And it's like it just works for me, right? I'm able to keep that out and do everything I love. Like, I love helping out my local customers that I help out for my business. I love what we do in the cybersecurity field. Super cool, interesting stuff that we do. These companies and products that they come out with are fascinating. And then Stogie Geeks, I mean, speaks for itself. I mean, I get to speak to you guys or different versions of you guys every week and hear stories. And it's super cool, you know. And I wish you guys much success there. The next thing you got to do is get Lost Tetons on the show, because I can't wait. I was a fan of Lost Tetons. I actually sold Lost Tetons cigars out of my shop way back in the day, and had one of his metal skateboards. I skateboarded vert till I was 37. So wow. I woke up one day. I was skateboarding vert. I was at a skateboarding park, and I kick flipped the board, and I handed it to a kid, and I said, "Here you go." And he's like, "What?" I says, "I'm done skating." He's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. I'm done. I'm 37. You're like 12. Well, I'm done here." You know, and I never looked back, and you know, but having had one of those original Lost Tetons skateboards from way back in the day, an interview, putting him and me in the same room would be awesome. Having him and me in the same Zoom room or whatever the heck this electronic extravaganza is called that Johnny produces every week would be just as cool. I think him and I mean, we're both gonna break out our guitars and sing in song. That's all I'm saying.
Bradley, you have one of those skateboards, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in my office, but it was my father's. He has one of those metal decks from back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah. Wow. By the way, doing a board side with the metal skateboard with sex wax should be frowned upon when you're in your 20s. That's all I gotta say, man. Like, I was like, oh, wood is a lot slower. It's a lot more flexible. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, super cool. Super cool. Definitely have Jonathan add us to your press release. Where you guys have any press releases that you want to get out and all of that stuff. Don't be a stranger to the Stogie Geek show as well. I believe me, I've been following you guys in the background since I found out about you guys in September, and I'm looking forward to blend 6, 7, and 8.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
20, 21, 30, you got to get up there.
Yeah.
Definitely, after restrictions get lifted and all of that stuff, love to have you guys come back, within the next 90 days or so. We certainly can do a part 2 of this. I have so many more business questions to ask you guys and all of that stuff. But, contrary to belief, people listen to podcasts if they're at a certain time frame. From what I was told. Now, if you guys showed up on Stogie Geek 7 years ago, episodes were 4 or 5 hours at a crack. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
That's but we're under these new restrictions so that, we can be competitive in the market and all of that stuff. I don't know. Those are not my decisions. I would keep talking to you guys for another 4 hours for sure, So don't be a stranger to Stogie Geeks. Yeah, don't be a stranger for Stogie Geeks. Keep in touch. I wish you guys ultimate success and thank you for your time.
Thank you guys for having us. Really appreciate
it. Absolutely. Stogie Geeks, Stogie Geeks, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we got the Sticks of the Week. Stay tuned.
Plasencia Cigars. Perfected for more than 150 years. Yours to enjoy now.
Stogie Geeks, welcome to Volume 2 of Episode 328. This is the Stick of the Week feature. This is the point where Drew and I tell you what we have been smoking. And at the end of this, pay attention, we have a quick announcement in regards to a online contest that is going on. If you are on our social media for Stogie Geeks on Facebook or Twitter, you already know about it. But if you don't, we're going to tell you about it now. So today, the stick of the week is the Plasencia Cosecha 146. The exact size is the Monte Carlo, and that is a 6x58. If you want to check out the review of what we've been smoking, all you got to do is go to StogieGeeks.com, click on the Stogies section, and away you go. And if you want all of the sticks under the Plasencia series in our reviews, we are going to update the Facebook page, facebook.com/Plasencia, and away you go with that. If you want to find a Plasencia retailer near you, all you have to do is click on the Plasencia logo, type in your zip code, and away you go. Call your local brick and mortar. They'll ship you some sticks. There you go. Drew, Plasencia Cosecha, which stands for the harvest.
Yes.
146. Out of the series that we've done, this is my favorite for sure. If I were to choose, I like them all. I'm very into the Plasencia blend, but this here, the wrapper is from Honduras. It is a Criollo 98. The binder is from Nicaragua. It's also a Criollo 98. And the filler is Nicaraguan with Honduran fillers in there. It's available in 5 different sizes: Monte Carlo, San Luis, San Agustin, the Vega, and La Musica. What we're talking about right now is the Monte Carlo, and it is a 6x58 ring gauge. Strength is medium for sure. Little bit spicier, so there will be a spicy component in both the regular hail and retro hail for sure. You get complex sweetness from the wrapper, and you get smoke lingering on your palate for days with this stick for sure. It's been rated 91 by various ratings. And what are your thoughts on this stick, Drew?
Yeah, my thoughts on this stick started with to me, it was more in a medium body, form for me. It is a great smoke. It's something that you can enjoy pretty much all day, any time of the day. It's simple. It's delightful. I've had this stick multiple times with my cup of coffee in the morning when I'm up at 4:30 in the morning out in the cigar and just kind of contemplating my day. And then, but yeah, this stick for me, the notes that come to mind right off the bat, as you said, it's spice. The spice really comes through, and it just tends to go down the gamut of some almond creaminess, and then leather component, and then into some chocolate. And then from there, it just starts to settle in, and these aromas just intertwine. And on the retro hell, you definitely get that spice come through, and it's not really like overburdening spice, like some really hard Ligero spices, but it's definitely a really compliment to the sweetness that this sets under. On the finish for me, there was some floral tones. I was trying to see if I could peek out the dry fruit in there, because there is some kind of between a citrus and fruity towards the end there. But yeah, wonderful stick, and I enjoy it. So
I definitely think you should seek this stick out as a Stogie geek, and the reason being is you got to look at the name and the meaning behind the name. Cosecha stands for harvest. It's the 146th harvest. If you're doing the math, that came out 2011, 2012 harvest. So let's just stop and take a minute there and just ponder that, right? The tobacco has been aged from a specific time, the harvest, right? The 146.
Yeah, 2011,
and
2012.
It's Yep, 2012, and it's been aged. So that's where aged tobacco happens a lot, especially in the boutique world, right? You try like, yeah, it's okay, and then you let it sit and rest. As we know, I'm not a patient person like that. However, most of the aged stuff that I get a chance to enjoy is because someone else has aged it, for sure. If I was up to my own demise, I probably wouldn't age it, but that's just my own consumer behavior. But however, because it's been aged from that 2012 release, you are going to get deeper nuances of true Nicaraguan tobacco. Smoke component, like in most of the Plasencias, very high density and smoke on the palate, for sure. We reviewed previously the Robusto Gordo size, which was 5 and a quarter by 52. I like that ring gauge a little bit better than but super awesome stick for you to enjoy. I look at it this way. If you're going to a barbecue or a fire pit or something of this nature, and you want to sit back and relax and enjoy a good cigar, this is a very, very good choice for that. Or when COVID restrictions get released and you want to go to your local brick and mortar and check them out, by the way, you go to StogieGeeks.com, click on the Plasencia banner, type in your zip code, and then you'll be able to find a local brick and mortar that carries Plasencia. You will treat yourself to a really, really good stick and a really, really good time. So, and it's one of those sticks that, would I make it a go-to stick? Yes. But I would make it a go-to stick if I were going to smoke it in a cadence that would allow me to relax. In other words, I wouldn't smoke it while doing work or just as a regular stick of the day or something like that. Having it first thing in the morning, cup of coffee or espresso, for me, is really where it's at.
Agreed 100% on that, because like I said, I mean, it's one of those cigars where you can, I've literally had this cigar, I've had a box and they're gone already.
Yep.
So
I actually have one left. I have one left from our stash that we've had, and we've had a box. Therefore the rating, it's box worthy. It was box worthy with the other rating. This is box worthy as well. I like the smaller ring gauge a little bit better, so I would probably more gravitate towards that, 52 ring gauge there. Two of the sizes are 52 and one's in 50. Those are awesome sizes to get into. The 58, it's okay. It's just a little big for me. But again, it doesn't take away from the taste. But if you really want to get into the taste, the smaller ring gauge is where it's at. And if you get into the ring gauge and have that there, like if you're in that barbecue setting or that fire pit setting, and it's that smoke content is going to linger on your palate to where you might not go for a second cigar, and then you can enjoy times with the non-cigar smokers and you've still had your quote-unquote cigar fix. At least that's how I operate.
Yeah. Yeah, when you say that this smoke lingers, it definitely does. I mean, the content is very rich. For me, my tongue receptors, picked up a lot of the meatiness of this cigar, and by no means, I mean, it's not like a heavy meatiness. It's just a nice, very lean cigar as far as what I'm talking about in the consistency of meatiness, good flavor, good aromas, and the way they meld together on this particular ring gauge size, for sure, you could definitely understand the simple nuances on this cigar.
Absolutely. What else have you been smoking, Drew?
So I got introduced to these cigars called Black Chisarro Habano cigar. The tobaccos are the tobaccos are they're all from Mexico. They are San Andreas. They come from San Andreas, Tujala, and Veracruz. There are 3 different blends with this Mexican San Andreas Puro. I'm sorry, excuse me. There are 3 different blends offered. So they have a Mexican San Andreas Puro. They also have a Connecticut Golden and a Habana cigar in their line. The Black and Habana are available now, and the Golden is yet to be released. Both cigars are Mexican puros. All the leaf is grown and harvested in Mexico, and the Black Cesaro is also San Andreas Negro Puro. So again, this cigar for me, wrapper Habana, binder San Andreas, and filler San Andreas Negro. So at the first looking at the cigar, it's very it has a little oil to it, a little oil sheen to it. It does have minimal veins, and it is kind of a rough in texture, but not to the point where you can feel everything. It just looks that way. Sweet cedar aroma at the first light of this stick. It transitioned very well into the pepper. Smoke content from there just got very heavy, and because it is a heavy bodied cigar. Smoky spice transitions through the stone later on, a little bit of a stone dried fruit sweetness, kind of liken it to like a date, and then from there the leather components start to really meld together with a little bit of a sweetness that I consider it to be more on the maple side, and then from there just transition into the cedar, between the cedar and then it just charred just a little bit, and then from there it just started to really take off and bring all these flavors together. Almond on the finish, a little bit of the spice, baking spice, I would say, came through and really completed this journey with the cigar. This cigar, like I said, for me, it's a new. I've actually smoked 4 of these before, deciding to go ahead and give it a rating. I'm going to definitely give it a 5 at this point. You can buy these in a box of 10, but I wanted to try these and give them a real good going. And for me, I definitely would get these again in a 5 and just enjoy these throughout my rotation.
Cool. Quick question: is it is it true medium?
It is. I would say medium to full.
Okay.
More on the higher echelon of medium, and and teetering into the full.
How's the retro hail?
Retro hail is beautiful on this one. I mean, you don't get you don't get that spice kick in until you get into the second third of the cigar. But at first, my first 2 draws are just kind of just getting the flavor, just trying to get my palate, coated with what's there, and then taste the wrapper. And that San Andreas wrapper does not disappoint, as you know. I'm a big fan of the San Andreas wrapper. But then from there, it just when you go into retro in the second, the pepper does come through just a little bit, tad more, but not to the point where it's overbearing or has you getting a drink. And it doesn't leave your mouth dry either. This cigar here just really the saliva on your palate, it stays there, so it doesn't dry it out. And that's the other good thing about the cigar. I had the cigar in the evening and went to bed. Did my brush my face and rinse my mouth, but still in the morning when I got up, I didn't have that that feeling that tobacco was there lingering, and giving me that morning cigar taste that my wife does not like at all.
I'm sure. Yeah, I get that sometimes, and it's like, what the hell did you smoke yesterday? Like, I get that a lot in the morning. Like, man, like it's still on you. I'm like, well, I showered and freaking brushed my teeth. I don't know. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I hear you. Quick question. Did it burn fast? The reason why I'm asking is, in my experience, some of the Mexican stuff burns a little bit faster and doesn't run as moist as some of the other sticks.
Good cadence on this one. I mean, I was, and I do write down my cadence on these cigars because that's one of the things that I want to, impart to when I'm introducing a cigar to friends of mine. Take it slow, take it fast. Return to it every couple minutes, what have you. This cigar, I went back to it every 2.5 to 3 minutes. So for me, it burned pretty evenly. There was no runs in it whatsoever. It did it did go, I would say, about a 50-minute cigar on this one. And
cool. My final question is, how did you hear about it?
Heard about it through my brick and mortar. So, went over to Nomi, and as we were talking about earlier in an earlier segment about walking into the B&Ms and,
what's new?
Yeah, I asked Nomi, I go, hey, Nomi, what's new? And he says, hey, I got these Mexican puros. He goes, I've been waiting for you to come by to grab some, and well, here you go. And so, so he introduced me to these, and so far what I've seen online, I mean, this was an older brand, I believe back in 2014, something like that. It was an older brand, and then it went away. Somebody else has the brand now, and then they just kind of revamped it. And it's been pretty successful on both sides of the spectrum. But on this side of the spectrum, they're hoping to really catch fire with it and move forward and be able to develop, from there to add to their lines.
Awesome. Yeah. Are they? I wonder if they're relatively new on the scene, or how Nomi found out about them.
Yeah, no, like I said, they were around early back in the mid. I believe it was 2014. I think it is. So they were available back then. They just did not grab or catch on until this other company in Mexico, or this other company, I think they're from Mexico. Yeah, they are. They decided to go ahead and envelope the brand, and then they brought it to their factory, and then they started to roll it out. And now these are available in 3 different vitolas. They are and packaged in a 25 count bundle and a 10 count white lacquered boxes. So they are available in a Robusto, which is a 5x50, Toro 6x52, and a Torpedo at 6x52 as well.
And are they available on Nomi's new website? In case the Stogie Geeks listener doesn't want to go on a wild goose chase to try to find them.
Oh yeah, Prestige Cigars and Tobacco in Bedford, Texas. We have a new website up. That's my home lounge. That's my playground. That's where I go and hang out with the wonderful people there. Right now, our lounge is closed because we are doing curbside service, but we're also expanding that location. It's getting a whole new suite, and it's going through construction right now. So, but you're able still to walk in or do curbside service, and Nomi has them ready to go.
Yeah, and he'll be able to ship them out as well. So,
yes, sir.
Go. That'd be good to not go on a wild goose chase these days.
No.
Don't need to put people in harm's way. So very responsible for us. There you go. I am currently enjoying the JT series by Christoph. Like I said last week and past couple weeks, I've been really getting into some of the Christoph stuff. I'll be giving a review of this stick pretty soon. But the Christoph stick I want to speak about is the stick I had at the beginning of last show, but I've also had it before. I would say it's one of my go-to Christoph sticks. I really, really like this. This is a Christoph 685 Woodlawn. It's in a Perfecto shape. It's available in one size, 6.5 by 60, right? But around the Perfecto shape, it doesn't have that big. I know it's a big ring gauge, so I don't need people saying, Joe, you're an idiot, right? You say you don't like big ring gauges, but here you are reviewing a 60. Nah, the way it is in the mouth, it's not like a big ring gauge there in the mouth. It's Preferido shape. Awesome stick. It's the wrapper is Brazilian, binder is Nicaraguan. Excuse me. Filler is Nicaraguan with Dominican Habano. On a scale of 1 to 10, complexity, flavor, and balance, all 8s. Super cool stick. Really like this. Like I said, it's available in one size. Cigar starts off with a mix of wood, has a little bit of sweetness. Then when it starts off, you get some light pepper, right? Then when you're about halfway through, so it kind of builds up, right? Now when you get halfway through, it gets to the bigger part of the perfecto shape, right?
Yeah.
And then you get a natural tobacco flavor, which surfaces, and I start to get stronger in pepper as the stick heats up. It kicks in, and then it fades back to the original natural sweetness. So it's a tasty stick for me, but it has flavors of earth. It's tasty and really, really natural Nicaraguan, Brazilian with Dominican Habano setting. Very unique flavor. Absolutely positively. They come in boxes of 10. So, I mean, I'd make it a 5 or a box split there. They are readily available at Churchill Smoke Shop and Lounge, who is, ironically, through COVID, doing shipping as well. So if you want the URL, you can email me at joeh@stogiegeeks.com because they're doing a URL crisis where it's in one domain and it's got to go to another, but there is a store set up and there's some internet snafu things going on for the next 14 days. But I can give you the link to where you can buy it off of their site and they can ship it there too. Like I said, they have the 685 Woodlawns, which apparently from Christoph, only a couple of select shops actually do get a chance to sell this offering from Christoph. So it is a little bit of an exclusive with some of the shops, and I'm just lucky enough to have my local shop have that stick. Like I said, I began that stick in the beginning of last week's show, and I enjoyed it throughout the latter part of the show as we were post-interview and getting into the sticks of the week there too. So that was a 685 Woodlawn by Christoph. Definitely get out there. It's box worthy. Comes in boxes of 10. It'll be a great treat for you for sure.
Nice. So my next stick we're going to go into, it's going to be the Crown Heads by the Angels. It's called the Crown Heads, the Angels Anvil. It's a TAA 2019. It's a 6x50.
Ooh, TAA, fancy pants.
Yeah. That's right, baby. $12 stick. So some areas they're about 13 and some change. So for 2019, Boutique Legends. For 2019, Boutique Legends Crown Heads have released their 6th consecutive exclusive cigar for Tobacconists Association of America, retailers nationwide. This cigar is complex. It's about a medium to full body. I'm going to say it's more on the full body side. The wrapper on this is going to be a Brazilian wrapper, and I can't say that name for what Arapica.
Araparaca.
Araparaca. There you go. So Brazilian. Araparaca. Okay, so Brazilian Araparaca.
The only reason why I know that, I'm not showing off. I've been corrected by Paul Azadorian on that so many times.
Okay, well now you're passing the baton. There we go.
Passing the baton.
So that's right, baby. So binder on this one is an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. So that tells you right now that you're in for something special. And filler Nicaraguan. So this stick, I mean, I'm a big Crown Heads fan. I love a lot of their Tennessee Waltz, their Juarez stick. They actually just did a stick with Drew Estates, a collaboration with them as well. I believe that's called La Coalición. So anyways, when I got these sticks, I was very happy to receive a five pack of these. So I got these sticks about 5-6 months ago, and little by little I've been going through them. And so I finished off the last one about a week and a half ago, and did not disappoint. Again, big anticipation. I had a high expectations of the stick, and it did not let me down whatsoever. So at first, I mean, this stick is very smooth in texture. It does have some veins, but not too much. Cap is beautiful on this, and it's got a double band. It's got the TAA band on it, and then you got the Crown Heads at the foot of the cigar. So taste notes on this for me, at first, you get a good dose of earth for sure. I mean, you light this up, take a nice draw, then you take another one, and you definitely have that earth component there. And from there, it just goes into the dark coffee that came from the wrapper just really started to come through for me at this point on my palate. And then from there, it just started to transition very well, and into a pepper. And this is where I start to really get into my retrohales, and the pepper just came through just as nice as I expected on this. It did not disappoint whatsoever, and it did lead me into that oak char there, and then it was just very enjoyable on my palate as far as the acids, the dark coffee, and then also from the pepper, the spice of the pepper. A little bit of the baking spice in there as well is what I could really concentrate on. And then again, as I got into the second third of the cigar, the last half of that, a blast of pepper. I mean, just really came on really strong. And again, I love it. Trust me. One thing I love about cigars that are in the medium to full range, it definitely did not disappoint. Also, towards the end, you still get more pepper. It's just kind of evened out, and with that, you get that oak and cedar in there. I think the cedar. I'm not sure if I was really on that, but I definitely got the oak. The cedar, I'm saying more because of the aroma, and it could have been just that I was retrohaling to the point where it was like every other draw was retrohaling. So it may have messed with my my aroma glands there for a second. Molasses sweetness to the finish of this Stogie, and for me, it was just everything that I had hoped for going into this Crown Heads stick. Stogie Geeks rating for me on this one is going to be a box split. I would definitely box split these all day. I would, only because I don't want to hog them all. I want to share them, with the masses. So if anybody is interested, next year, I'll definitely do a box split with y'all.
There you go. Yeah, I'm a fan of Crowned Heads for sure. Yeah. They super cool stuff. I love the 4 Kicks by Crown Heads. It's one of the originals. As a matter of fact, there's a box with my name on it over at the Havana Cigar Club that I have on reserve. So definitely love that stick. And it's in a Robusto size, which obviously with the COVID thing going on and the way my smoking habits have changed, I'm really getting into the Robustos there just because of time restraints with the little guy, for sure. Yeah. The final stick I want to talk about today is Roma Craft Cro-Magnon.
Yes.
It's a petite Robusto. It's called the Knuckle Dragger. It's a 4x52. The wrapper is Connecticut Broadleaf Maduro. Binder is Cameroon. The filler is Nicaraguan. Complexity, flavor, and balance on a scale of 1 to 10. Complexity, I gave it a 9. Keep in mind, this is a petite Robusto size, right? Complexity, I gave it a 9. Flavor, I gave it an 8. And balance, I gave it a 9, which it's so savory and spicy. And the Maduro wrapper really comes out with it's very toasty, if I could create a visual, right? Comes out very, very toasty. The filler is grown from different regions in Nicaragua there, and it's really got a nice power bomb component to it. So like power in taste, and if you're new to cigar smoking, I could see where you could probably call it a pepper bomb, but it might be a pepper bomb because I bullet cut it as well. Yes. So, you're getting all that tar build up there, but the strength continues to build as you smoke it, and it gets bigger in strength and bigger in bold flavors. And one of the things that really, really stuck out for me is that the Knuckle Dragger is just so well balanced for a powerful Robusto. So again, you have 40 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour smoke. Want something really kind of spicy and bold, that's well balanced and has a good pepper component. The Cro-Magnon, the Romacraft Knuckle Dragger Cro-Magnon is the way to go. Stogie Geeks rating, box split with a friend. They're good sticks to have if you're having a fire pit and you don't want to smoke a 2-hour because you want to be social as well as there, or just talk about the stick or whatever. It's a great hour stick for you to enjoy that. Again, one of the key takeaways from this stick for me with the Romacraft was the balance, for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing Skip Martin will do for you on those Romacraft brand is he will give you a blast of pepper. I particularly love the Neanderthal sticks. That's my go-to stick. When you guys were talking about go-to sticks earlier, that's my go-to stick. I mean, I love the Neanderthal stick, and it's like you said, it's a 4x52. It's a great size, and it gives you everything that you want in a heavy, body cigar in a short quality time, like you said, 45, 50-minute stick. And I've had the Cro-Magnon, and I love that stick as well. I mean, that's another stick of Skip Martin's that to me is just fabulous. And but these two sticks definitely they're not a morning stick, that's for sure. I mean, these are for middle in the afternoon, getting into the evening. But on a Saturday or Sunday, if you're at the lounge, definitely grab one off the shelf and try that. I mean, you're gonna love that stick, and I guarantee you that will be in your rotation in your humidor.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Want to take the time out to let the Stogie Geeks listeners know that McAuliffe Cigars is looking for ambassadors. It's a great program. All you got to do is go to StogieGeeks.com, click on. You will get exclusive reviews on a very, very closed, active social media group. It's a great way they've been getting some fascinating interviews from all aspects of the industry, letting you know everything that's going on in and out of the McAuliffe Cigar company as well. So you want to sign up for the ambassador program there. All you got to do is go to StogieGeeks.com. Also, our partner JC Newman is launching a series. It started April 21st. It runs till May 15th. So you still got 15 days to participate on this. All you have to do is go to StogieGeeks.com, click on the Brick House logo. It's in the right-hand side of the Stogie Geeks webpage, and click on that. Find a retailer near you that sells Brick House. They have 5-packs available. They can ship them to you, so you stay out of harm's way, and then you go. And then when you enjoy a Brick House at my house, not my house, but at your house, right? You go, you take a picture of you enjoying that stick. Use hashtag Brick House at my house, and the winner will be getting some JC Newman Brick House swag, which will help you out throughout the COVID crisis and stuff you need for survival. So check that out. If you go to facebook.com/Stogie Geeks, you can get the details of that. If you want the details, you can email me at joe@StogieGeeks.com. I will forward you all of the details of the contest, so you can bring the links to where you can get a Brick House to enjoy at your house. So there you go. Something to do during the crisis for sure. And don't forget, Stogie Geeks, I want to encourage you to get out there and try the stick of the week. That's the Plasencia Cosecha 146.
Awesome. I got a message
with
for
that
you, Joe.
stick makes for a great special occasion. What's up, Drew?
Well, I said I got a message for you. You mind if I read it to you?
What's up?
So Gustavo
where's this coming from?
It's coming from our YouTube channel. So
okay.
So Gustavo Andrade wanted you to know.
Oh, yep.
So he says, "Hey Joe, first time I watched you guys live, working from home. We'll have to leave in 20 minutes, but wanted to say hi and cheers."
Yeah, man. Gustavo, if you're still watching us, he just celebrated a birthday He same thing, same way I met you, man. He started tagging me in photos, and he pays attention, and he's still waiting for me to ship him his pack of cigars too. I told him I would raid Paul's humidor and get a thing. Gustavo, I gotta go in order. I gotta ship Drew's cigars first, then I'm gonna ship yours. It isn't, if I could share my screen, which I can, but I'm not gonna do it for the show. It's in my to-do folder, which our director of operations at Security Weekly has a to-do folder before Nervous Breakdown. That's an ongoing joke. I should probably I started off as a to-do folder, and my to-do list is like huge. Looking for a Stogie Geek intern, take care of all of that stuff. Obviously, they would have to be local to take care of all that stuff, because it's tough to keep up with some of the comments and doing all of that and all of that too. And if we're talking about starting a Slack channel coming soon and interacting more with our Stogie Geeks listeners, we're gonna have to be well prepared for that too. So Gustavo just celebrated the birthday. Happy birthday to Gustavo. Happy birthday to Alec too, from Alec and Bradley. He's got a birthday coming up, he said in our previous interview there. So happy that Gustavo tuned in and chimes in. He emails me about every other week and says hi, and says that he won't wait for my sticks, but I promise you they will come at some point. I'm just way behind on all of that stuff. It's dauntingly embarrassing at this point. But that's what I try to answer. I try to answer all the Stogie Geeks with the emails that I can to get them out. Sometimes they email me on a Monday when it gets published, and I get to them by Thursday, and it's just my inbox is a hot mess. So,
well, that's what COVID-19 is doing to us right now, and it's cool. It's kind of nice to have this interface interaction with our listeners, and I definitely invite you guys to send me some emails, not your complaints, just all your fabulous 5-star emails to Drew at StogieGeeks.com.
Email Drew at StogieGeeks.com. Show him some love. There you go. It's crazy. Gustavo is a super cool guy, man.
He is.
Someday, like you, I will meet him in person, and I look forward to the day, that you meet people. And I'm looking forward to us potentially launching this Slack channel, going over there. Just so you Stogie Geeks know, Drew and I are tinkering around with that and whatnot. I just don't want to be a place where you dump a bunch of questions and it's another to-do list, and then I respond like a week later. I got to figure out a process for that, so that is in the making. I think that's one of the things that's coming out of this COVID situation, is it's allowing us to slow down a little bit, obviously being home, reformat the way business is done, tweak some things, develop some new things, and away we go with the new processes post-COVID that will hopefully be here to stay, keeping everyone and wishing everyone safe and making sure that they remain safe and out of harm's way, and that they stay positive as best they can through this situation.
Amen.
There you go. Stogie Geeks, I want to remind you, we keep the conversation going all week long. Go to StogieGeeks.com. Check out some of the sticks that we have been reviewing. If you want the show notes, you go to StogieGeeks.com/328. That's today's show. Last week's show was StogieGeeks.com/327. Next show will be Stogie Geeks 329. You get the point there. Or you can just go to the search function, type in the interviewee name, and it should come up in our Stogie Geeks search platform over there. Also, Facebook.com/Stogie Geeks. We are on Instagram. Drew and I are on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow us there. Drew's email is drew@StogieGeeks.com. I'm Joe H@StogieGeeks.com. Tell your friends. Tell them to watch and listen to the show. I want to thank the listeners for watching and listening. I want to remind you that behind every cigar, there's a story worth knowing. Get out there and support your local business. Hopefully they have curbside service. You can do that in a safe manner for the upcoming weeks. Special thanks to J.C. Newman Cigar Company, Havana Cigar Club, Placencia Cigars, and McAuliffe Cigars. Drew, any final words?
No, just everybody stay safe, continue, and we'll see you in about, we're going to see them in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, we're taking a week off. We got some homework we got to do, some catch up we got to do on some other things. Our next Stogie Geek show will not be the 8th of May. It will be the 15th of May. Is my math right?
That's
yes,
correct.
it's right on the
15th.
calendar. So Stogie Geeks, be safe. Hopefully we'll have some more restrictions lifted. We can get positive. We can stay positive, stay strong, and we'll see you next time. Peace.